This conference will now be recorded.
All right, I'd like to call to order the meeting of April 18th for meeting and work session. Roll call, Mr. Abernathy.
Here.
Mr. Wade.
Here.
Ms. Hankins. Ms. Paultrin.
Here.
And Mr. Hardy.
Here.
All right, let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment on non-agenda items.
Okay, Myron Walmo, Ennis, Montana. I found at the last commissioners meeting there was a serious discrepancy in terminology in regards to an inquiry that I've expounded on. To clarify, emails are a form of private communications to be viewed by the recipient. For anyone other than the recipient to view, said email is if designated or the sender's email is hacked. So as was admitted in an earlier meeting, the email was private and obviously was hacked and passed on to the contract attorney. Now we enter into the realm of ethics, which means honesty and moral standards. It is obvious that this is an unethical action brought by the IT specialist, aka the chief of police, and the contract attorney. It also brings to mind how many times has this unethical activity been performed in the past. The lack of accountability is astounding. It is definitely a breach of trust within this governing body at the expense of the community. By the way, has the commission members been advised of the possibility of having their privacy infringed upon and unethically made public? So many questions and no answers for the residents of this community. Good evening.
Second call for public comment on non-agenda items. Last call for public comment on non-agenda items. All right, closing public comment on to the first scheduled matter, which is Resolution 598, 2024, a resolution of the town of Ennis to adopt a special events ordinance for activities and events held on town property, traffic ways, and public grounds. So I guess I can give the introduction to this. Most towns actually have just a special events policy. Well, it's not a policy, it's an ordinance that they build in, and then they follow up with policy afterwards. And I thought it would streamline our use of public grounds and make it clear to the applicant, and so everybody's on a clear, even playing field. And then it kind of not eliminates, but reduces the amount of liability to the town by making the standards very clear for use and what's expected on town property and traffic ways. So with that, I figured we'd start into drafting ordinance, and then with that, the policy that goes with it.
So we just need a motion to approve it. So moved. This is John Way for the record.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Discussion on creating special events ordinance.
When do you think you'll have language done on this by next month?
Yeah, I think somewhere in there. We'll probably have to work session just to go through it.
To draft policy?
Yeah, well, to go through the ordinance first and have public comment even on the draft thing before you go to public hearing. We've done that before where we've gone and had changes after the first public hearing and then had to go through again and start over with your first public hearing due to major changes in the document. So I'd like to draft and have some work sessions and input on it, especially from the ones that use it the most, which are the chamber, Lions Club, which they won't really have the special events because they already have all their coverage, but we kind of need to build that in. And then Shenhorn Sports, I'm gonna make sure and reach out because hers is on that walkway a lot too.
So it doesn't include anything at Peter T?
It depends.
Yeah,
It's
that's private.
ground. So it's nothing in town properties, traffic ways, and public ground.
But if it like spills over onto the sidewalks that are adjoining Peter T, then yeah.
But simple, not some of the larger ones seem very detailed. And I think it's a very easy framework and then you run into policy. Any details that you need to.
How are you approving these that are coming up right now? Are you just putting them on the back burner for now until this gets in place?
No, we have a user agreement that has insurance, but we really don't stipulate for sure, other than yes, you can require it. Montana code in that says that you can regulate it, but we don't really have any policy on it. So, but it does say you can regulate it. I just want it to be clear on how we regulate it.
So in the Lions Club actually, like for the farmer's market, for example, requires that we provide proof of insurance.
Mhm.
So is that
That's part of the user agreement is
that
those
they check?
that we end up checking. They get sent on to us.
So how does that work? The farmer's market has like a umbrella insurance, not every individual vendor has insurance.
Right, yeah.
It's the same with the chamber events. It's the chambers. Like for the 4th, it's one thing, and same with the Hunter's
Fest?
Feed and the Tap into Ennis. So umbrella insurance for their
events.
event.
So every vendor at farmer's market would be charged the fee too?
That's the whole thing that needs to be hashed out. And
Where we need to figure out what we're gonna do.
I would hope not. I have some little kids that
You won't
might
have any
not.
vendors.
Yeah, is kind of where I would definitely have issue.
And that's why it said as soon as we do this, we need to immediately wipe it out, the vendor fee. Or we can do it. We can do business license by resolution, so we can still do that even next month.
So are we gonna pull something from another town or?
The special events ordinance, I sent all those ones out and then we kind of discussed the highlights of them, which was 60 days, must have the 1.5, higher risk events must carry additional insurance.
Do you define higher risk?
And then absolutely prohibited, which is what is defined by MMIA. Because if they won't cover it, then nobody will.
Sure.
But with it, and I'm trying to figure out how on our webpage we can create a link. MMIA now has all the insurance companies. If you go to MMIA's site and special events, they have a special events page. They have additional, not MMIA itself, because it can only insure municipalities, but they have a link to all the insurance companies that handle different special events. So you can go to them and you have all their contact information so that you can get the additional insurance, and it's easy to, so you have multiple options if you're in need of it. Does that make sense? Try and make it as easy for whoever needs to use it as possible.
So this is, am I allowed to talk?
Yeah, go for it.
So this is
You gotta go to the mic.
Please, stand up. So is this going to take the place of what we had voted in previously with the $25 fee?
Mhm.
So right now that's current and
Current
exists and
exists.
is not being enforced.
There's been no vendors other than the last one. So that's why it needs to be, this needs to be fixed.
There has been events since TAP. Is that what we're going back to a year ago, TAP?
Yeah. The farmer's market is the only other event that's been at a vendor at public park.
At the park. Okay, that's where I guess, is it worded like that? Don't have a book anymore to reference, but is it worded?
Well, the
Just
town can't really enforce on the banks. the
Because
PRT,
they're-
right, 'cause it's private loans.
so it's just really
Town property.
Lions Park. Geez, Tina. Yeah. Okay.
That was Overflow Park.
Oh, I know it's gone. Okay. All right. Thanks. I was just trying to.
John, you're looking like you're thinking something.
No, I'm good. I am, but
Craig,
go ahead.
any other thoughts on? Are we okay?
Yeah.
If there's, in those ones that I sent, and those were just, you can pick any town. Whitefish has got it. Pretty much almost everybody's got it, but West Yellowstone, I think, was the one that I read the most of. It seemed very, very simple and very basic. And they hold enough similar events with like the Expo, and Red Lodge is a little beefier, but I think the Red Ants Pants Festival kind of probably prompted it. It's a bigger festival than anything we've had here in a while. But if there's any extra research and you're like, hey, this one part was something I loved. But I think if we do the ordinance and then even in the policy have, here's the policy, you can hand it to them, and here's also the link for MMIA for the, if you're needing insurance, it's a standard fee for the special events. You don't have to worry about it. It's not per vendor. Other towns, sometimes they do per crowd, like there's a set between 50 and 100 people, and then 100 to another set. It's a different fee. I don't think that's necessary. A lot of them just do one set special events fee, and that seems to make more sense.
Yeah, ours, I'm not sure who we're getting it through for the farmer's market, but this year they've changed it. And that's, insurance companies are famous for changing around how they have things structured. So this year it was like, well, if you're going to have up to 300 people, which is what our previous coverage offered for the market, and now it's down to 2. If you want the 300 coverage, you have to pay extra. And I was like, well, we're not going to have over, it's kind of speculation to a certain extent, how many individuals that are there specifically for the farmer's market. I just view like the vendors ultimately, and maybe the individuals helping out, and then it's guesswork from there. They might be there for a softball game or just to walk the dog. So I guess there's So going with these insurance companies, I guess, is maybe one of my takeaways from this conversation right now, that maybe I need to double check and just make sure I've got so all of these companies are companies that MMIA works with then, is what you're saying?
Mhm. That provide special event insurance in Montana.
Okay.
So you can follow on their link they have on their webpage. They have a link to those.
Yeah. That might,
Because they were getting so many questions on whether or not they could do it, and they can't insure individuals or groups. They only insure municipalities. So that's why they put the link on there. But having one standard set fee for special events, because again, like the event holder might not know if it's going to be 50 or 100 or 200 or
It's gonna rain or snow.
exactly. Like tapping to Ennis, it's in May. Sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's horrid. So that's why you just standardize the fee. All right. Any other discussion? We're good to go.
Call the question.
Okay. Mr. Abernathy, would you like to start us off this evening?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, next order of business is Resolution 599-2024, a resolution of the Town of Ennis to adopt a detailed preliminary engineering report prepared by Great West Engineering Incorporated.
Sorry, did I turn that off?
We'll just write up on.
I'm awake. All right, so we've had 2 public hearings since any changes of the preliminary engineering report for the water system. The last one being last week. We've made no changes to that report. Any questions?
Just gentlemen, for the record, I move that we accept the PER.
The resolution number 5992-2024.
Yes.
I,
All right, discussion. Any questions? Can you go to the mic? Sorry. I know. I should just give it to you guys in the corner. You can pass it back and forth.
take it with
You can just hold on to it.
Is there like a timeline from the start to the finish?
Of the preliminary engineering report or the actual project?
The actual,
The actual project. So part of this, the preliminary engineering report for us to go through the next sections, even of tonight,
right.
We have to apply for the grant money.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, and that grant money, the Montana Coal, is only designated during legislative years. So we have our applications due in May.
Yep.
They go through kind of the grant committees ahead of time to make sure that we've done all the things that we're supposed to do. And then in the next legislative session of 2025, when it starts in January, they'll release those MSEP monies. And once we know that we're there, then we'll begin project, and still completion we're looking at by, Joel said, possibly the end of 2026.
Okay, so there's no progress at all before 2025.
We're going to use our initial ARPA section, because that has to be spent by the end of this year
Oh, I
to
see.
meet requirements.
Okay.
So that will go into the original engineering, the initial engineering phase
Right.
of both of those, so that that's all laid out and pretty much done.
Okay.
And Great West has already been in contact with the company for tank itself
Correct.
to see that, because we're even looking at the glass tanks, and there's only one manufacturer in the United States, and they are years out. So
Right.
we knew that that wasn't a very possible
Feasible.
option at that point.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
kind of the groundwork is getting laid, but
Okay.
not until fall of 26 before
Okay. Thank you.
the tank completion. Any other questions? All right, call the vote then. Mr. Way,
Aye.
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 I,
all right. So the next resolution, Resolution 600, 2024, a resolution of the Town of Ennis to accept the determination that the environmental assessment is appropriate for the Town of Ennis Water System Improvement Project. So as part of that grant application, we had to have an environmental assessment done as part of the PER. That was complete with no findings that were detrimental. So we'd like to accept that determination of our environmental assessment.
I make a motion to approve of resolution number 600, 2024.
I'll second that.
All right. Discussion? Any questions? Anything there? Any other discussion?
I'm sorry, I guess, have we already had this assessment?
Mm-hmm. When Joel came last Wednesday,
Mhm.
remember he mentioned that that part of the assessment had been done, and it's in the preliminary engineering report
Oh, okay.
from the first public hearing had the majority of it, and then he shortened it down at the last one.
Okay.
You mean last Thursday?
Yes. I think
I
we've
know.
actually held
Don't
4
worry.
hearings on that one. All right, any other questions? All right, call the vote. Ms. Hankins, start us off.
Aye.
Aye.
I,
All right. Still going with the water stuff. So resolution 601, 2024, a resolution of the Town of Ennis to authorize submission of MSIP application, so Montana Coal Endowment Program application. By Great West Engineering would do that for us.
This is John Way for the record. I move to accept resolution 601, 2024, authorize submission of the MCEP application.
Brandy Palmerton, I second.
Discussion?
This is not the same one that the hospital. applied
No,
for?
that's the community development block grant.
Oh, yeah.
CDBG.
Yes.
I'm getting all my letters down.
Not even the same acronym.
I love
Correct.
the acronyms. They're so much fun.
Montana Coal Endowment Program, and that is all, I mean, the library gets part of their funding. Karen applies for that every time as well. Montana Coal Endowment Program actually funds a lot of our improvement.
And that's a biennium as well, only during the legislature, correct?
Correct.
Approved by the legislature.
That is that one. Any other?
Montana Coal Endowment Program?
Yeah.
Okay.
MSEP was.
MSEP, got it.
don't
Well, I
know
want
if
to make
it
sure I
was-
get all my acronyms down.
I don't know if it was TSEP or if that was a separate, that doesn't exist anymore. All right, then I will call the vote. Palmerton.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right. Resolution 602, 2024, resolution to amend the Town of Ennis 2023-2024 fiscal year budget.
I make a motion to accept the resolution 601-2024, resolution to amend the Town of Ennis 2023 to 2024 fiscal year budget.
I'll second that.
All right, so this was to increase the spending portion for Eric's office from the restricted building funds to general fund, for general funds portion, yeah. I'm like,
We're really not spending any additional money, we're just moving money around.
Yeah.
We're pulling out of, what 3 years we've set aside as building funds restricted, it's in the restricted cash code. And it's moving into facilities into a 940 object code, which is, like a capital object code for capital expenditure. Did the same in water and sewer. We just flipped it out of one account into another for facilities and gave it that same object code. So we're not increasing the budget at all as far as expenditures. We're just moving the money into where it needs to be for the expenditures to be correct when we pay out.
discussion?
No, I think we talked about this last meeting.
Yep.
Yep.
Did you say 920 or 940?
940.
On the resolution, it should, I think it's 920, Nikki,
Uh-huh.
and that's for, that designates buildings.
Okay.
A building.
Mr.
All your
Abernathy?
900 object codes are capital out, are considered capital outlay.
Okay.
So that's why we needed to flip it into that, because it's over 5,000.
Okay.
Mr. Abernathy, do you have something?
No, I think last time we talked about this, you had mentioned, I think, that sometime in the future that when the whole office thing changes here, that structure may be able to be moved and used elsewhere. So
Yep.
it's a good thing.
Multiple options. It can be used at the park for that, if we got rid of that cinder block thing, or also for a records retention building,
Or we could even sell it.
or you could even
Well-
sell it, but,
Yeah, I don't think it would work for records retention being a wood building.
oh, it has to be metal
Yeah,
and sealed. Well, we could seal
Bummer.
it, but
and rodent proof.
I want one of those. All right. Any other discussion?
Nope.
All right, Mr. Hurdy, you're leading.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Now on to the panhandling for suggested revisions. All right, Nikki, you get to lead us because you found the first ones.
Got my paper, so it's gonna.
Oh, I have it too.
Collect yourself.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Find which.
That always annoys me when I forget my stuff. I'm like, I meant to grab all my notes.
First was removing the section on, was it the alcohol?
677 or 676 and 677 was one for sure. Just because it would interact with the open container policy that we have in town, so.
Yeah, so we were gonna strip,
contradicts- Yeah.
you and Mr. Greenbaum agreed that that was a good catch to just strike that section. Because we don't have an open container.
But it also says controlled substances. Should we, I mean, and that should, I mean, any controlled substances shall not be allowed by any solicitor. I mean, I could get behind that, but
Could you repeat that one time?
Yeah, it says, 677, line 2, or any controlled substances shall not be allowed by any solicitor. It mentions, drugs, stuff like that. So, that part of it I can get behind.
Yeah.
And I don't think affects the open container law, but I don't know how we,
We can just get rid of alcohol on there, really.
yeah.
Alcohol and beer.
Mm-hmm.
Does that not go without saying though, that can't sell controlled substances if you don't have a license to do
Handling
it?
license.
Yeah, it goes on to say, or any controlled substance. You'd probably have to change that wording. Wordsmith that a little bit too, probably. If you're gonna allow for, beer and alcohol, right?
I think it just kind of goes without saying, but,
I know.
you know.
Please don't do drugs while you're trying to sell me other stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know where I stand. But I think the alcohol definitely counteracts the open container policy, and if we mess with that, that's gonna fire people right up. I think.
Why don't we do this? If we start at 677, open display of alcohol or drugs, we get rid of alcohol there, we get rid of that whole first sentence, and we go to that last sentence, open display of, not or, of drugs or other controlled substances is unlawful and a violation of this chapter. Does that make sense?
Marijuana is a drug as well, though.
But it's legalized,
Yeah.
not federally, but
But you can smoke it anywhere except on federal property.
Yeah, legal drugs.
yeah.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
So just change it to open display of illegal drugs is unlawful and is a violation of this chapter.
Yeah.
Did you want any other controlled substances in there as well?
Yeah, I think it should say open display of any controlled substances or illegal drugs or something like that.
I'd probably change it to illegal substances.
Illegal, yeah.
illegal or controlled. I'm trying to take it like in context of the whole thing, which is what's hard for me. It's like your solicitor should not be. If you are panhandling, you should not be doing so with your beer.
Hanging out of your mouth.
I guess that's for my moral section where if you need it that bad, you probably shouldn't have that with you.
Yeah. Agreed. And then the other one that I saw on 673, B, number 1, the entrance to or exit from any public toilet facility. And I think we should just get rid of toilet facility and just do any, put on my notes. Business establishment. Business or establishment.
Which section was that, Nikki?
673, Part B, Section 1.
And Nikki, say it again.
Just
Just what you want it changed to.
the entrance to or exit from any business or establishment. So strike the public toilet facility.
Got it. Thank you.
And I guess you could probably strike the whole rest of it. Porta potty, porta toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, question. Public business. What if it's a private business?
Where are you at?
Right where she was
I
at.
struck public.
Yeah, I think.
Struck
I
public,
think
just-
it should
Okay,
be
so
struck.
any business or establishment?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And that's for that reason alone, that business owners should be able to say something.
Sounds good.
So it still says any vehicle that is moving or parked on, or moving, standing, or parked on a street. As long as they're out of the car.
You can't.
You
So
can't do it on public or private or public property. You can't retain or refrain them from doing it on public property.
exactly.
Right.
So this one is an ordinance that we pulled most of it from Billings, because Billings had been challenged on some of their stuff, and this is what stood. It's still held after all of that. So that's why we chose this one. That's why I'm wondering why they had it written. Maybe I need to call the city manager over there and ask about like the toilet.
Do you
Or if
really
it was
wanna
something
know?
that they were specifically having a problem
Yeah.
with.
Who knows there?
So that's where this one came from, was that.
I think it's still pretty.
But
good.
I agree, it's with 673B and then the amendment to 677. Get rid of.
Pay stations. Do we need to worry about pay stations? I mean, maybe we will have one in the future, but on Part D, further down,
Where?
673D. It says pay stations connected with it there with. Probably not, it's fine in there probably.
Oh, pay stations. You never know with a new grocery store.
If you leave it, it probably won't hurt
Anything's
anything to leave
possible.
it.
Yeah, should just leave it.
Okay, hold on.
The library is the one that. I think those were the main ones.
Yeah.
That was mine, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I see. Good work, Mickey.
I don't think it'll get us in trouble. I like in the exemption, like you put a time not to exceed 24 hours, or do you just not worry about it? I can't think of any major fundraising thing that would be over 24 hours that I can think of.
So the fire department wants to do, stand at the corner and do fill the boot. We have to do a resolution to set this new thing aside so they can do that. Okay.
Mhm.
What is that?
Really?
Is that
I don't see them doing it here, but in other towns, like they do it once a year. They firemen
It's
are
for
standing on the
muscular
corner and they got a
dystrophy
boot and
assist-
you're supposed to give them money until they fill
Oh,
the boot up.
donation.
It was traditionally for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and kind of Montana as a firefighters group found out that the CEO was making more than we were collecting for that association, so we kind of
Oh, okay, yeah.
didn't anymore.
I've seen it all over the world. People raising money for local fire departments. That way, take a,
Received for fireworks when you enter the town.
yeah.
And that's not a problem. I mean, we could, they come to us a month ahead of time. We could set this aside by resolution pretty easy. But
Yeah. Planning.
Are they nonprofit, fire department?
Yes.
Should we put
Yes.
something,
Most are. You have very few private.
should we put something in here about?
I think, doesn't it say
not
that?
worth it?
Yeah, it says it. The commission may by resolution suspend the requirements and restrictions imposed by this section in order to accommodate charitable fundraising events.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
The nice thing with the resolution is if you get one that is a big deal, you don't have to wait. You
Yeah.
Give the 48, write it, give the 48 hours to notice. You could do it that quickly.
Okay. Just for conversation's sake, how does this affect things like on the 4th of July, 50/50 raffles, people walking up and down the street doing,
That's what I'm like. Don't you just exempt the 4th of July fundraising?
so we'd have to do a resolution for that every year
That's what
to,
I'm wondering. I'd like that as I was looking at it, because we do it at the Hunter's Feed too.
Oh, yeah.
You see it at the 4-H kids do
and
theirs.
the gun raffle that sits out in front of the pharmacy on Hunter's
Mhm.
Feed and
I wonder if you could just write right in here
Is the
in
one-
our exemptions.
Is the term fundraiser in
You know what I mean?
place?
Charitable
exemption.
fundraising events.
Charitable fundraising.
Right? So what if in 679, in your exemptions, you automatically put in the 4th of July
Mhm.
for all those groups?
Could you even
Hunter's
say
Feed.
like chamber events or,
Local annual events.
yeah,
Local annual,
Which include but are not limited to
4th of July,
4th of
Hunter's Feed.
July, Hunter's Feed. If you've got somebody that's doing something during the fly fishing festival,
Mhm.
it's a
including but not limited to. Okay.
Nice. So is that kind of broad spectrum that's going to allow us to, if the fire department tomorrow wants to do, throw some money in the boot, is that going to include those guys?
it's not an annual event, but it is
Yeah.
still a charitable fundraiser.
Sure.
And usually a lot of things like those type of things, they kind of want people to show up, so they usually try and say, hey, 2 days before they're gonna do it. They don't usually go, oh, spur of the moment, let's just have a boot filling.
If you're in the middle of the street,
Most
it's
of
kind
the,
of hard to
all of that's,
ignore.
most of your fundraising occurs when there's events because you work together when the crowd's drawn to be effective.
Yeah, I think if we just put those exemptions in there, we'll be good to go.
Put it as that.
Yeah.
Except on during local annual events, including but not limited to the 4th of July, the Hunters Feed, etc. And then that makes it so that it's all taken care of. In that section. Okay. I think that was the only other one that I was like, I don't know. It's,
So does this, just so I understand it, does this include hitchhiking?
I don't think that's.
Kind of almost
You're soliciting a ride.
yeah,
That's usually on a public right away, which you can't
right.
prohibit. So no, I would say no, because you can't prohibit it. It specifically says that's a prohibited thing in Montana code.
Nice.
Were you planning on going somewhere?
My truck's broke down.
All right. I'll get those changes made. And we'll go from there. Send a copy out, and then if there's any other that I missed, let me know. Or if my wording's horrible. I can't remember which one it was last week that I couldn't find a sentence that worked as a real sentence. All right, I think that's everything for this evening.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We're back to Mr.
Hi.
Hi.
Bye.
All right.
I did. Way to go here. The new Bancroft. Yeah.
The new Bancroft. One of the band.
Huh?
I'm ready. Happy birthday a day early. Birthday.
Hey, John, did you have any of that information?
I do, and it's still sitting on my desk. I will get it to you. Yeah, at the tackle shop. But I have some more that I need to print off for it as well. And I've been thinking a lot about it. Tony came in today and talked to me about it as well. And Trigula, he's, yeah, that brought it up. I think we need to do more research. I'm not happy with what I have.
I'm sure that we need to do a lot more research.
Yeah.
There's gonna have to be, it's something that we've been working on, but I don't think, are you?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I'm just,
Just like an
Yeah.
open, honest one about it and see.
Public
my house and the legal staff representing the subdivision were like, they wrote me up for having more than just a one family household. I claim that each one of these individuals, my employee, I would say, gardener, soups, cook, you know, I'm just saying, like, your way around it, the lady, you know, you're active one to one. But I wrote that down in 47. food diet. Yeah.